Hey everybody, Michelle with Michelle's for a Living here. Thanks for watching my videos. And I want to show how I made this face mask and the pattern that I use. I'll tell you where I got that from and everything. So I did watch a video. There's a doctor or nurse or somebody who was showing how to make this here on YouTube and directed towards this pattern here. And it was a North Memorial Health Hospital, Maple Grove Hospital. I'm not sure exactly where they're at. Anyway, so this is their pattern. I'll put a link to it in the comments and also the in the notes fill on this video. I'll try to get there too. So basically, if you go over to their website and if you scroll down a little bit on that page, it says make donation. If you click on that, it opens up this PDF for this, and then you can just print the PDF out. Now, these two pages are the pages 2 and 3 of the PDF are what's important. Page 1 is the instructions. Pages 4 and 5. If you don't have a printer and you want to draw this pattern yourself, it gives you like all the measurements on how to lay it out on a grid and draw it yourself. So, and basically it printed out full size regular. I did have to tell it to landscape when I printed, make sure it's on landscape. So it prints all of it out. And so basically what you get, and my printer ran out of ink. This was literally the last 2 pages I got to print. I ran out of ink, and that's why it's so light. This is the front piece. You need 2 of these front pieces, and then this is the inside. And I'll show you the mask. I'll talk about that. So there's 2 pieces. Well, you need 2 of that and 2 of that for the inside. Now I altered it a little bit, and I'll discuss that just to cut down on the amount of sewing that I would have to do. I also want to say this mask is not made to prevent you from getting COVID-19 or any other infectious disease, flu or cold or anything like that, because this is not rated to keep those really small viruses out. Wearing a face mask like this can help stop the spread of disease by if people are coughing in public and around other people or sneezing and stuff like that. It helps prevent it like that. Okay, so a lot of hospitals right now are taking donations of these masks, and I donated some that I made yesterday already to my county health department. Anyways, I'm gonna show you this. This is the inside, and you can see how it has a pocket right here. Okay, and that's where using these 2 pieces comes into play, making this pocket. And but the pattern calls for doing this on both sides, and instead of making a slot on both sides, then I just cut out the front piece out of whatever I was using for the inside and used it on one side and used the other 2 pieces on the other side. Okay, and so really I just cut out one of these, and then I did 3 of the larger face piece, and that cut out one of these sides. But I'll show you both ways on how it looks laid out. Okay, and then this pattern is designed to take these ear elastics. So this one has these smaller ones on it, but they also make a larger size like that. You can see the difference in the size of those. These work just fine for me. Apparently my ears are a lot smaller than my man's ears. He thought they were a little tight, and I could see where, yeah, that was a little tight, and he's like, why don't we try it with some bigger ones? So anyways, these bigger ones work fine for him. So if you're making these for a man, you may need some larger sizes than this. Okay, there's other options that you can do as well. This one that I made, I put elastic around it, and all I did was stitch the elastic there and there, and that, so it has 2 points in it. This one's a little shorter. This measures about like 10.5 inches on the top, and the bottom one is like 8.5 inches. And but you may need to vary that for yourself and see if how it works out. I'm making some random ones, so I'm hoping, you know, that these sizes work for the people that are going to get them. The other option is to add strings like this, so that on the four sides, so that they can tie it around their head like a regular, you know, you've seen surgical mask like that. These strings, do them about 18 inches long, and that'll work for those strings if you want to do that. Now those I happen to cut them out of the matching fabric, but if you don't, the other option is if you have some bias tape like this, then you can just stitch it down, because you know it needs a row of stitching on it, and then you can use that as the tie strings if you have something like that, or you know, whatever you might have. Okay. The point of having a pocket in there, I guess some people are putting some type of filter in there, or it gives an option if there's something out there. I'm not putting anything else in them. Oh, and then with these hair ties, basically after you sew the whole thing together and turn it right side out, you just lop the end over the hair tie, and then that makes the loop. One thing I do want to say, if you're doing the strings, putting these tie strings on it, or doing the elastics, what happens is because you're not folding this edge over like you do with this, and this pattern was made for these kind of rings, what happens is this is a little bit longer because it's not folded, and I noticed it does go and cover up the ear like with this, whereas this one just rests like right in front of my ear. So if it's a nurse in a hospital or a doctor, they trying to use their stethoscope, it might not, you know, they can't get it in their ear because this might be covering up their ear if you do this. So really what needs to happen, and I'll do this on future ones I make, if I put elastic or the tie strings, this it needs to be shorter, about 1/2 inch or 3/8 of an inch, you know, just like that much that you would turn under. Whoops, I'm going to get in the camera. So just keep that in mind if you're going to do that, okay? So you can think of other ways. Like I've seen other ones where this side isn't so long and the loops, it takes a bigger loop. You could use elastic right here also. Now I wouldn't use this wide. If you had this wide of elastic, I don't think that would be very comfortable to make a loop of this around, to go around the ear. You know, this is made to go all the way around your head. Okay. Benefits of having this is you can, I noticed, you know, just practicing with them, I could just slide it down and it would just hung around my neck. Whereas, you know, this one, when you take it off, you have to take it off. It ain't gonna just, you know, you can't just have it hanging around your neck like this one will. Okay, anyhow, so cut out the pattern, and what I did, because I didn't want to just use paper. I always, like, I've been doing this all my life. I got some interfacing that happens to be red interfacing, and I just traced that pattern onto this, and that way I wasn't going to lose my original pattern. And then I just use these and I just lay them down. You can pin them down to your fabric, and if you need to. I've been sewing for better part of 45 years, so anyways, I just lay it down on there and then I just cut it out. Okay, so I cut out the pattern, or the pieces. So this one, I got 2 pieces, and you put right sides together like that, and then we're going to need to stitch these together. I just got it on whatever my sewing machine defaulted to. Okay. And there is a top and a bottom to the pieces, because if you notice looking at it, it does have a curve right there that sets on your nose. So there is a top and a bottom to all the pieces. So you just kind of gotta keep that in mind. Okay, so there it is. See, so now it'll you know, curve around your face, and it goes up underneath the chin. And there's other styles of face mask out there. You know, some of them just use rectangles, and they're a little bit not as round, you know, like that. Okay, so with the inside, if you go with the way the pattern is set up, basically what happens is that these two pieces are going to overlap like this to make that pocket, and you're going to do that for both sides. And then essentially when you that's what you would do if you were going to strictly follow that pattern. And they would be, they would be like this. And but like I said, I cut out one set of those and then one piece that matched the front. Okay, and that eliminated some sewing. Plus, this is a raw edge and it's going to be exposed, so it has to be sewn down. So on the curved part, and if you need to use pins, use pins. But I've been sewing for a long time, so I don't need pins. And then, so also I want to go ahead and finish off this raw edge, because that's where the pocket is. That one will be on the inside. Okay, and I also have to tell you, I plan on making a whole bunch of these because people I know want them, of course, and I'm giving them away to the hospital here. So anyways, I've got a whole bunch cut out. So like literally, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna chain sew, and I'm just gonna like just keep on sewing, right? Okay, so now I've got the edges folded over. Oh, and on this pattern for this one piece, it has a line right here, and that's indicating where this piece, let me get it the right way around, where that piece would line up right there on that, okay? But you can tell because of the way that the shape of it is, where it would, where it lines up. And then also, well, here's what I decided I like to do. Okay, I gotta look at which way I sewed that. Okay, so I'm gonna take the other side, and I want the finished off side. This is the raw edge side. I want it to face up, putting right sides together. I use this white fabric for the inside, and the way I can do it faster because I don't have to pay attention to really what's up and down, right? Okay, so this is the way I decided I wanted to do it. If you watch that lady's video, I don't know what the YouTube channel name is. She did it in a different order, but, and these are 1/4 inch seam allowances. Okay. So this is just so I could line it up a little bit better. So now I've got that sewed together. This piece needs to get on there. And what I wanted to do is, why I did it that way is that then it can match it up. And then I don't have to worry about drawing that line or marking that line on the other piece that's on the pattern, so that they line up in there. So I lined that up, and then I know exactly where it's at. Now this is where I did use a pin so I made sure that it didn't move. I'm going to pin that side together. And let me pin this side together. And I'm just going to, I'm going to stitch this one over top of these to stitch these two pieces together. That way it holds it steady when we're going to sew the whole thing together. And my sewing machine sews over pins. So if you can't sew over your pins, don't sew over your pins. Just keep that in mind. Okay. But mine doesn't have a problem doing that. All right, they'll take the pins out. So that made the pocket right here. And but like I said, if you follow the pattern strictly, you would potentially have a pocket on the other side. All right. So now what we need to do is we're going to line up this center piece and this center with this, okay? And I know it's curved, so right sides together. I'm going to line those up. And I used a few pins on this just to keep everything squared up. So theoretically, if I cut and follow my pattern right, this should all line up right there, and mine lines up just fine. So I'm just going to put a little pin down here in the corner to hold that, and then I'm going to match up. And I just fold the seams over one way and one the other way, and just make sure my centers are lined up best I can. And go back over here, and then, I mean, just because the one fabric I cut a little bit wider than the other one, that way it'll lay flat. So I just want to line it up, and this is doing good. Now, normally when you're going to sew two pieces together and make something, you have to leave an opening in order to turn them, but because we have this pocket opening, that's where we're going to turn it. So we're going to stitch all the way around this whole thing, pivoting at the corners, and once again, a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And because it's not completely flat, it has somewhat of a curvature to it, you just got to work with it. And at the corner, I'm just going to put my needle down and turn it. Okay, I didn't have my needle down that time. I do have that feature on my sewing machine. Keep the needle down. And I'm gonna overlap my previous stitching, where I started at. I overlapped it a little bit. Okay, so I stitch all the way around. I pull all my pins out. Make sure you got all your pins out. So now we have that opening right there. So then we're just, oh, I know what I like to do first. Clip the corners off just a little bit so they'll lay a little bit flatter. It won't be so bulky in the corners. And the other thing I do, because this is rounded, has a roundedness to it, I just snipped a couple. Don't snip your stitches, just so it gives it a little bit more ease when you do a rounded thing like that. So anyways, okay, so now I just like to kind of put my thumbs here on the corners and turn them like that. If you feel like you need to get a pencil or something and poke the corners, just be careful if you need to poke your corners out more. If you want to be more fancy with this and finish it off a little bit more, you could do some top stitching around the edges. I mean, all the way around the edge, and finish it off if you really wanted to. That way, top stitching, you just go like really close to the edge, and you could finish it off that way if you wanted to. This would be the time to do that if you're going to do that. And so anyways, there it is, and you can see how it's curved. So then this is where you would need to decide, what kind of thing are you going to do, to finish it off. I'm going to use a couple. I don't have those cut open yet. I'll get a different color of hair tie than those. I was kind of trying to match them up a little bit. I got some navy hair ties right here. Yeah, so they just fit around there, and then you just pull this over like that, and then we're going to stitch along there on both of them. My sewing machine has a feature to move the needle over to either all the way this way or all the way that way, and I found it was just easier if I wanted to get my zipper foot out. If I didn't have the feature to make my needle move over, if you have a zipper foot, they usually, you could do that a lot easier, because you kind of want to have my stitching close to, because that's bulky under there. Anyways, so I stitch a little bit, and I'll back stitch over it to reinforce that a little bit, and then just stitch along there, and then I back stitch on the other side. I'm running it off, and trim up your threads, and then I have to put the elastic on the other side, and then we'll stitch again. And of course, you know, use whatever. I've just been using white thread on everything. But, you know, use whatever color thread works for you. Anyways, so there it is. That's how fast it takes to make one of those. And it, like I said, you know, we got the one pocket in there. Okay, there you go. Thanks for watching.